first step is to cut out your pillow form, and I've actually already done that here, and I double up my fabric and do 2 layers at once. But the first thing is to take out your pillow template, and I use this pillow template all the time if this is super handy, and I'll put a link for this in the description box below. And then you just mark through the little cutouts all the way around, and then connect the lines and cut it out. And the pillow is already got tapered corners so that you don't get dog ears on your pillows. After you cut out your pillow, so I've got my 2 sides already cut out, then you want to make the strips of fabric for your ruffle. So I just cut 4-inch strips of fabric, and I actually didn't cut it because this is linen and we want the edge of the ruffle to have a little bit of fraying. I didn't actually cut it, I just cut the end, just snip it at 4 inches and then rip it. And that's how I did all my 4-inch strips. And I've got all my 4-inch strips already ripped. This one was left over from the first pillow I made, so it's already gathered. But here's my other 4-inch strips. Now I'm gonna go ahead and sew these all together so they're in one long 4-inch strip. Then I'm gonna sew a straight seam on the frayed edge so that it doesn't just continue to unravel forever. That'll stop it somewhat. Okay, so I've got my strips of fabric. I'm going to sew them together lengthwise. This is the side that I ripped, and then this side is cut, so I just want to make sure that I sew them all together the same direction. So this is the ripped and this is cut, so I'll sew them together like this. And the piece that's already gathered, I'll add that on. Okay, so that's enough to make it around the pillow. What I'm going to do is the side that's frayed, I'm going to just put a long basting stitch pretty close to the edge so that this edge won't just continually unravel. The stitch that I'm going to put on this edge will keep it from unraveling. So just set your sewing machine to the longest possible stitch and just run a straight stitch all the way down the edge. Okay, and now that I have a stitch all the way down the outside edge of the ruffle, so this frayed edge is going to be the outside edge of the ruffle. So now we need to actually make the ruffles. So I'm going to flip that over, and opposite the side where we just put in that basting stitch, we're going to put in our ruffle. And the way that I like to do that, forward stitch, back stitch, and then you just grab a hold of your top thread and keep it somewhat taut. So you're just gonna not let it, you're just gonna hold on to your top thread and make it kind of tight. So you're basically, see how that's coming out ruffled? It's gathering the fabric on that thread. You're basically creating tension manually. I don't like to mess with my tension on my machine, so I'm just creating manual tension by holding the top thread before it goes into my tensioner. And there you have a ruffled ruffle. And the tighter you hold it, the more ruffly it's gonna get. That's how you can kind of do a cheater ruffle method. And you can get it pretty tight. I don't want mine super tight. I just want it kind of a undulating ruffle and not a real tight ruffle. I did the first pillow and it's pretty tight, and I actually prefer it to be a little bit looser. So you can play with this, see how tight you need to hold your top thread. Okay, so I've got my pillow and my ruffle, and we're gonna pin this on, and we'll start somewhere off center a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and pin perpendicular to the seam, because that way if I need to, I can stitch over the pins. Okay, so for the corner, you still want to go around the corner square. And one thing with ruffles and corners is you want to put some extra gathering right at the corner. If you don't have a little extra gathering at the corners, then what happens is, let me see if I can illustrate this. When you try to make a corner, obviously you have to turn the corner, and if you don't have extra gathering there on this ruffle, it's going to like cup. Does that make sense? So if you put some extra fabric into the corner, you have a little extra fabric there and you won't have that cupping of the corner. Okay, now I can go to the sewing machine. I will stitch this together right here, and then carefully sew all the way around the edges. So I'll meet you at the sewing machine. I'm going to sew kind of right along the same stitch line that I put in the ruffle. And you still want your corners to be really square, so drop your needle down, lift up your presser foot, and rotate your pillow, and sew. Got some extra ruffles in the corner here. See how I'm sewing? This is the old stitch line from gathering it, and I'm just sewing right inside that so that when it's turned right side out, you won't see that stitch line. Okay. That's it. Corner. It's time to put in the zipper. So I've already got my zipper here, and you want your zipper to be about 2 inches shorter than one side of your pillow. You can go even shorter, it just makes it a little bit harder for your pillow to stuff your pillow. You're gonna lay the zipper on top of the ruffled side with the zipper face down. And that's because this is the right side of the pillow. We're gonna take the other side of our pillow, put it on top of here. Then when it's all turned right side out, obviously you want your zipper pull on the outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew this to the edge of my pillow as close to the zipper teeth as I can. So I'm gonna put on my zipper foot, move the needle over to the left so that I can sew that right next to the zipper teeth. So I'm gonna line up the edge of my zipper right with the edge of my fabric. And definitely back stitch here. And you can see it will automatically run right next to your zipper teeth. Now this is not an invisible zipper. This is just a regular zipper. So it is going to show a little bit on the outside of the pillow, which is fine because it's going to be on the bottom of the pillow, and because it's got a ruffle, it's going to be behind the ruffle. I'm just making sure that I'm lining up my zipper to the edge of the pillow. And now we've got to get around the zipper pull. So we'll go around it, sew past it, Then I'm going to close that up a little bit or open it up, one or the other, one way or the other, and re-stitch that because you see how far away that is from the edge of the teeth, so we'll re-stitch that. So we've got the zipper sewn on to one side, and now I will take my other side of my pillow and lay it on top of this one. Just going to put a couple pins in here so I can make sure that this pillow is lined up with the bottom part. Okay, so now that we know that's lined up, now we can do the zipper part. We're going to line up the edge of this to the edge of our zipper here and pin that. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew right along those zipper teeth here. So we'll flip this over. And sew that. Now we need to sew around the whole outside edge of the pillow. So I'm going to flip it over because I like to sew on the side where I put the pins. And we're going to start right here at this bottom corner where the end of the zipper is. So I'm going to fold these two pieces out so I don't hit those zipper teeth. Push that forward and I'm going to start sewing right here. So behind that zipper a little bit so that when it's when the pillow's turned right side out, the stitching will come back to about here, and that way this end of the zipper will be enclosed, it'll be covered. Okay, now drop the foot and you're going to need to change the needle to the other side of the presser foot. Back stitch and forward stitch there a few times because there's going to be a good bit of pressure on that part of the zipper. And now we're just going to sew all the way around. And we want to stay about a 5/8 inch seam here because we want to make sure that we cover up these stitches that are from the ruff. We want to make sure we're on the inside of that. Okay, so we're back to the other end and we're going to do the same thing. Push those zipper teeth out and we're going to sew in behind the zipper. So spin that corner. See, the zipper is there and we're going in behind it a little bit. And I'll show you what that does. Okay, we'll open it up all the way. There's our cute pillow. And there's the zipper. And once we get this zipper pulled all the way, you see how that that's a big zipper pull, but it kind of tucks up underneath there. You see how that ends up looking? And that side. So that's all done. So you can see the zipper on the back a little bit, but that's going to be on the bottom. You won't, it sits on that part. And then the front is all nice and clean. So that's the farmhouse style ruffled pillow. It's so simple because of those frayed edges. So if you'd like to check out the video on how I built that bed, you can check that video out right here.